Wildfires have dominated the news this summer, but while there's widespread scientific consensus that climate change is the driving factor, the internet has some other ideas. Just one look at some social media platforms and you'll find people blaming space lasers or direct energy weapons for the fires in Maui and the Northwest Territories, falsely claiming this fictional technology is being used to steal land and to trick people into believing in climate change. Posts like these keep on spreading. So how and why do conspiracy theories catch on so fast? Joining us with more this morning is Associate Professor of Disaster and Emergency Management at York University, Eric Kennedy. Good morning. We've been taking a look at some of the conspiracy theories that are blaming everything from, as we said, space lasers to government-funded arsonists for these wildfires in the summer. But an image search often shows that this evidence is actually fake. So what makes these theories so believable when the truth is just a few clicks away?
It's a great question. Part of why misinformation and conspiracy theories is so appealing is because it confirms our pre-existing beliefs. So, for instance, if you are concerned or skeptical about the government and its influence, when you hear a theory that blames wildfires on that source, it might be readily easy to believe. And trying to find information that disconfirms that belief or shows what is actually true could challenge those assumptions that you have. And so that confirmation bias can lead to these being particularly powerful, especially in disaster or emergency situations.
Yeah, oftentimes in those disaster and emergency situations, there's a lack of information. There's a vacuum.
Yeah, there can be a lack of information and you go looking for things to fill it. There's also a lot of confusion and chaos, right? The information is changing rapidly. Even officials might not be exactly sure what is happening in the moment, and they might need to express that uncertainty. And so wildfires and disasters can be these environments where the confusion, the uncertainty, the conflicting information makes it really easy for misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories to spread.
Social media companies say they have safeguards against misinformation, but how is it that theories like these, like space lasers starting wildfires, gain traction so quickly online despite that?
One challenge is that it's really like playing whack-a-mole. It's a lot easier for new conspiracy theories to spring up than it is to spend the time and effort debunking them. For instance, when officials are trying to respond to misinformation, they have to be really careful to make sure that they're getting accurate information and they're presenting it correctly. And that takes time, energy, and effort. And in that time of preparing a response, you can see 10, 100, 1,000 new theories emerge and spread during that time.
When people choose to grab onto and believe misleading information, what are some of the harms that can come from that?
In the case of wildfire, we can see a lot of direct harms and long-term harms. So direct harms could be examples like when there's misinformation spread about where it's safe to go or whether it's safe to return to a community, or disinformation that discourages people from evacuating. That could very literally lead to injuries or loss of life if people are not trusting reliable sources and are instead rushing into dangerous areas or not leaving. But long-term, we also need to have appropriate approaches to managing fire. And that involves, for example, lighting prescribed fires and good fire that is important for our environment and important to reduce risk. And if we see conspiracy theories undermining trust in agencies and government, that can reduce and limit our ability to use good fire to prevent catastrophic fires later on.
What needs to happen to better control the spread of this kind of misinformation?
So at a system level, we certainly need to see the agencies investing and continuing to work on trust building with their communities. One of the things that we've seen as potentially a good example in the Northwest Territories is the Wildfire Management Agency spending a lot of time working with local community members to build trust. And we need to do that before the fires occur to make sure those relationships are in place. But at an individual level, we also have to be really careful. You have to be careful with your confirmation bias. If you hear something that sounds too good to be true or that really just reinforces the things you already believe, that's a moment where you need to be cautious and check your sources, be skeptical, make sure that you're not falling victim to that as well.
Eric Kennedy, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.